In the most recent tweet, we got a list of Sandbox changes that are coming with Rite of the Night. With that came a surprising amount of buffs that are looking to buff some weapons that you've probably forgotten about. So in today's video, we're going to be going over the changes that are coming to both our legendary and exotic weapons, and essentially just giving you a list of weapons to look out for this coming week. First up, we need to address the changes coming to legacy frame pulse rifles. So think things like BXR Battler as well as Redrix. These are actually getting another nerf. And yes, while I said we are going to be covering buffs for this video, I wanted to mention these changes here as Redrix has been tearing up PvP since its release, and Bungie has nerfed this thing almost more than they've nerfed Immortal. TLDR in this archetype though, guys, they're getting a range nerf, and it's going to put it in line with things like high impact pulse rifles, which if you haven't noticed, things like LCs and No Time to Explain have really fallen off in the meta. For a little clarity on this Redrix roll right here that everyone got for free from Shaxx that has 62 range with the ballistic mod, we have an ADS range of 35 meters without fall off occurring until 36 meters. So what's the range going to look like on these weapons? Come Tuesday, it's looking to be somewhere around 2, maybe even 3 meters less of range. Granted, that's a very rough estimate, but the point of this is to remove your mind from Redrix being the most meta option. It may still be good, but this is going to hurt, guys, which actually sets up these buffs right here beautifully. Bungie is going to be tweaking the damage values of 3 subfamilies of weapons in an attempt to bring them more in line. First being rapid fire pulse rifles, second being high impact auto rifles, and third are precision auto rifles. Now, before we get into the specific changes, I do need to point out a pretty significant issue we ran into while testing. If you don't know, the actual displayed damage numbers from weapons in game is always rounded. For example, high impact auto rifles, Bungie said their body shot damage is going from 23 to 24, and if we compare damage listed to the damage on the spreadsheet that you see here, that body shot damage is also listed currently at 23, even though in game it's displayed as 24, meaning it would take 10 shots to the body to kill a tier 10 resilience guardian, which is the equivalent to 230 health, which by the way checks out. And we also tested body shot damage with rapid fire pulse rifles, as both Bungie and the spreadsheet here claim that they deal about 14.5 damage, resulting in a kill within 15 body shots, dealing 217.5 damage at tier 2 resilience, which puts us at 217 health, but not at tier 3, which is 218 health. So this confirms to us that the body shot damage numbers line up with the spreadsheet and what's being reported by Bungie. But things get weird when we look at precision damage. Looking again at rapid fire pulse rifles, Bungie lists each crit currently dealing 27.6 damage, while the spreadsheet has it at 27.442. Now, I know you're thinking, Cross, dude, can you be more anal? Why, yes, I can. This doesn't seem like much if we compare the two, but 8 shots at 27.6 would equal 220.8, meaning a kill on a Guardian tier 5 resilience, which is pretty significant. But in game, that's not the case, as we can only secure the kill in 8 crits at tier 4, meaning the spreadsheet here is accurate, while at least the numbers Bungie reported to us is inaccurate. And who knows, maybe it's the other way around. Maybe we got some data value off. However, if anyone else is here doing any of their testing and they're running into a similar issue here, please let me know. Accuracy is very important to us. Time to kill values is also something we want to have down as close as possible, as every little bit counts. For us at least, the spreadsheet that most people rely on in the community that is data driven seems to be the actual in-game damage values. And if you're doing the math yourself straight here from the TWAB, you too may have come across some skewed results. Now with the numbers out of the way, what the hell is changing? First, for rapid fire pulse rifles, we have our body shot damage being increased from 14.5 to 15, and our precision damage being increased from 27.6 to 27.8. Now, using the spreadsheet numbers and matching the percentage increase that Bungie is making in the TWAB, the change we should expect would actually be 27.442 to 27.64, which would then allow us to get the kill at tier 5 resilience in only 8 crits when we couldn't previously. Now, this also shifts our other values up a tier. For example, we should now be able to get the kill in 7 crits to body on Guardian's tier 6 resilience from tier 5 previously. So for instance, for weapons like Grid Skipper, Scalar Potential, or even Oversoul Edict, this is going to be a very nice quality of life change. They're going to bring these weapons more in line with lightweight pulse rifles and most notably Redrix. I would say out of the rapid fire pulse rifles, those are the 3 that I would really focus on, and maybe just 2. Like Grid Skipper's really good, but Scalar Potential, fantastic, and Oversoul Edict is wonderful. They're craftable, they have enhanced perks, you can get keep away on them, head Net Seeker, we'll be looking at these post-patch, but those two rapid fires already perform well, and they're just going to do better. Now, moving on, we have high-impact auto rifles, which are going to be getting some love. These are getting a base damage increase of 4%, going from 23 damage per body to 24, and then the crits is going from 41.4 to a whopping 43.2. However, when you refer to the spreadsheet, again, we have some deviation in numbers. Technically, it's 41.271 right now, which means, based on percentages, it will only go up to 43.06. Regardless, though, this is a nice buff. What this is going to allow is to secure a kill on tier 10 Resilience Guardians and just 5 crits, 1 body, when before, it would take 6 full crits. Now, this is still only a 1-tier shift, as previously you could kill a Guardian and 5 crits, 1 body, even at tier 9 Resilience, but this is still offering more forgiveness. This also means we can now land a kill and 4 crits, 2 body at tier 5 Resilience and below. But previously, this wasn't even possible. Now, while high-impact auto rifles aren't typically a popular choice in PvP, these changes also affect exotics, most notably 2, with another exotic being somewhat questionable. The first one is Sweet Business. This is a 360 round per minute auto rifle. Now, even though Sweet Business does take a little bit to get ramped up, when it is fully maxed out, it's shooting at a whopping 900 rounds per minute. Guys, our time to kill here is fast, even in the current Sandbox, when Sweet Business is fully amped. The damage buff? Oh, we may actually see a Sweet Business meta. Now, the other auto rifle, which would surprise me more than any other weapon being meta, if it actually became meta, is Cerberus. Cerberus is another 360 round per minute auto rifle, but let me just say, guys, this weapon, it's just weird. It's 4 barrels, the way it shoots, its exotic catalyst, its reverse damage fall off. Cerberus is still either going to be absolute poop or somehow, some way, it's about to define the new meta. Now, in terms of our other exotic, that's kind of a weird one, but we think it may get this buff, is Vex Mythoclast. Now, I know what you're thinking, Cross, Vex Mythoclast is a fusion rifle. Well, it is, but it shoots like an auto rifle, and it's at 360 round per minute auto/fusion rifle. I don't want to really get you lost in the numbers on this one, guys, but there have been times in the past where things have overlapped for Vex Mythoclast and high impact autos. At the same time, Bungie's also tweaked Vex Mythoclast. Used to be at 390, then it became at 360. Whatever the case, we still got to do pre and post testing on this one because Vex Mythoclast really doesn't need a whole lot. Just a little bit of love, and you've got a very dangerous weapon. Now, for my folks wondering about Suros Regime, yes, Suros Regime does have a focus fire option, but technically it's a 600 round per minute auto rifle. Even when we've buffed high impacts in the past, this is not overlapped into Suros. Only a buff to 600s have had an effect on Suros, and that would equate to both its spinning up form and its focus fire form, which brings me to my legendary auto rifles that I want you to look out for. You've got False Promises, which is just brought back to us as a stasis weapon as opposed to a kinetic. You've got Age-O Bond from the Last Wish raid. It's craftable, it has great perks, and in my opinion, the best legendary 360 in the game. Those would be the two that I would look at in terms of legendaries. Either way it goes, guys, we may find ourselves in a high impact auto rifle meta, which is something I don't think we've ever been in. We've been in a 450 meta. Back inside of Destiny 1, we were in a 900 round per minute auto rifle meta, which was essentially just Doctrine. Bungie's not bold enough to give us that. We've been in a 600 round per minute auto rifle meta when Hardlight was at its peak, but never a 360 meta. This would be unusual, different, and would definitely shift things in a lot of ways. Because if there's one thing high impacts have going for them, it's their ability to maintain consistency and the sheer range that these weapons have. They can fight pulse rifles. They're dangerous, man, and it just needs a slight nudge to make them meta. Now, lastly, for damage changes, we have precision auto rifles. They're going to be getting a base damage increase of 3%, but a slight reduction to the precision damage scalar to offset this change. Now, in terms of values, they're going from 19.4 damage to 20 damage per body and 33.95 to 34 damage per headshot. Now, again, when we look at our spreadsheets, our numbers deviate here. For instance, it's actually 34.048 currently in the Sandbox, which means it should go to 34.098. I know, guys, we're anal, down to the decimal. Now, I know this doesn't look like it's going to have a drastic change, at least in comparison to high impacts, but our time to kill values do shift just slightly. Currently, we're able to land a kill on Guardians at tier 6 Resilience and below in 6 crits 1 body, but with the damage increase, this should move up a tier to tier 7 and still get the kill in 6 crits 1 body. Now, that's really about it for precision auto rifles. Remember though, this is all taking into account everything at base. We're not taking into account damage perks, especially things like target lock. When those things get added into the mix, that's where these changes become more significant. Now, in terms of weapons to consider for the precision frame archetype buff, I like things like Centrifuge a lot. That's a solid one. You've got legendaries like Prosecutor from the Prophecy Dungeon, which is perfect because it's coming back with Rite of the Nines with refreshed perks. We have have Fair Judgment, which is a ritual weapon from Episode Revenant that has things like Dynamic Sway and Onslaught for PvP. We also have the classic Tiger Spite, which is a fantastic fill-in 450. Now, lastly, we have a couple more weapon families that are getting buffs to their ADS damage fall-off scalars. Again, we're not going to go super in-depth on these since there's too many unknowns, especially with how scalars work. With that being said, though, Bungie really wants us to use heavy burst hand cannons. So think things like Unloved, Yesterday's Question, and Warden's Law. Now, they have their ADS damage fall-off scalar being increased from 1.5 times to 1.6, and in-game currently, with an Unloved at 70 range, we have a range of 33 meters with fall-off at 34 meters. So I expect this to have about a meter, maybe meter and a half buff in range. So we'll see how that plays out. Adaptive submachine guns are also getting their ADS damage fall-off scalars increased from 1.4 to 1.5. So if you got those God Roll Mirror Magos, now may be the time for it to shine. Now, what's interesting is that this overlaps with the buff that's hitting Riskrunner directly. Riskrunner is not only getting this range bump, but is also getting a zoom bump from 13 to 14. Now, I don't really know if that's going to move the needle all that much. I will say I love Riskrunner when countering arc weapons. It sneaks up on people, it chews them up, and if you want to make people swap loadouts, nothing will make them do it faster than a Riskrunner, especially if they're rocking arc. But in terms of the SMG itself, it's definitely not one of my favorites. It just doesn't feel as meaty as other SMGs, but who knows? Perhaps this will make all the difference. So guys, those are the weapons to look out for. Let me know in the comments below which ones you have your eye on. We'll be doing pre and post testing for all of these, so come join us this week as we'll be streaming Rite of the Nines as soon as it drops. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.